What is going on, guys? So today we are going to be talking about which MOSs in the Army actually see combat. So I actually get this question a lot, and that is, does this MOS ever get to see combat? And usually my answer is, I don't know. There's a lot of different MOSs, there's a lot of different situations that could happen in the military where if you get deployed, there is either a good chance that you're going to get to see combat or there's not. It really just depends on the world situation. If we go to war, all kinds of different variables, and I just usually say it depends. But in this video, I'm going to go into a little bit more specifics on details, break it down a little bit. So if you're thinking about a specific MOS, then you kind of know where that MOS falls in the likelihood to actually see combat. And also by watching this video, you're going to get a better understanding of how the Army actually operates and how you have your combat MOSs and your support MOSs. So in the Army, you have different branches of the Army. So you have different branches of the military. You got the Army, the Navy, Marines, all that stuff like that. But in the Army specifically, you have different branches that make up the Army. And they can be kind of broken down into different categories. And you have your combat arms branches, you have your combat support branches, you have your combat service and support branches, and then you have your special branches. So if you ever go and decide to be an officer, one of the things that you're gonna do along your path is you're gonna actually just list all of the different branches of the Army from your favorite to your least favorite, and then you actually just get assigned your officer MOS based off of, the branch OML, things like that. So basically what officers do is they kind of pick from all these different branches that I'm displaying here. And if you're an enlisted soldier, whatever your enlisted MOS is going to fall under one of those branches. But basically, it's pretty straightforward. Your combat arms MOSs, your combat arm branch, those are the jobs, the MOSs, the people that are actually going to be engaging in like direct or indirect fire with the enemy. So you got your infantry in there, you got your special forces in there, you got your armor in there. So you got a whole bunch of people that are actually in direct conflict or indirect conflict. And indirect means basically you have indirect fires shooting from miles and miles away. Direct conflict is like me with my M4 or my saw gun or an infantry platoon going in just direct head-to-head conflict with another enemy force. So that's indirect and direct. So if you are engaging in direct conflict with an enemy, you're gonna fall under the combat arms branches. Now, we have different branches, and so you have your combat arms branches, and then you have all of your different like support branches. And so the combat support branches, those are the people that are going to be directly supporting those combat arms branches. So I am a signal officer. I talk a lot about signal because, again, I'm signal. I enlisted as a 25 Bravo. Now I am a 25 Alpha, which is a signal officer. So I talk a lot about signal, but essentially you have your signal companies, for example. So I have a signal company, and let's say there's like an infantry battalion or something out there. There's some combat arms branch. They're doing some operation, doing some mission in Iraq or something like that. Or it could really be anywhere else. And as a signal soldier, I may detach a platoon or a team or a small group of my company, or if it's a huge operation, the whole signal company might go in support of them. So basically what happens is you have your combat arms branches, then you have your combat support branches, and then so they are going to go and support those combat arms branches. So in that situation, if a conflict were to arise with direct conflict with those soldiers, so I am a signal soldier, I am now attached to, I am a part of a infantry company, infantry battalion, whatever, and we're going out on a mission. Well, those signal soldiers are going out with those infantry soldiers. The infantry soldiers may be the ones kind of going around doing their thing, going on patrols and stuff like that. But you have your signal soldiers who are out there. They are in harm's way. They are a lot closer to the conflict than somebody else who is at home, who is in one of these other special branches. Things are going to be a little bit farther removed for some different MOSs, some different branches, but you have those signal soldiers, you have those military intelligence soldiers who are going to be out there and attached with those combat troops, okay? So they're not directly involved in that combat, so you're not gonna see a signal soldier unless something bad is really happening. You're not gonna see that signal soldier pick up his M4 and go out on the line and actually start engaging in direct fire with the enemy. That's not gonna happen under normal circumstances, but if we go to like war, somebody attacks the base that they're on, things like that, those signal soldiers are out there. And that's why everybody that goes through basic training in the Army, they learn those infantry tactics. So then you have, like I said, your combat service and support branches, the MOSs that make that up, they're going to be a little bit farther removed. So that's your AGs, basically your lawyers of the Army. You got the finance corps that I believe is in that service and support. And then you have like transportation and ordnance. Those may kind of vary, kind of just depending on the situation that you're in. So let's say, again, this is all relative to the mission that you're on, the area that you're in, whether or not we're at war or not. But essentially, let's say you have a transportation battalion, transportation company. They are going to transport fuel, transport equipment, transport Humvees, things like that over in a dangerous area. So obviously in a situation like that, if they go on a convoy, which is essentially just a bunch of vehicles traveling, they're on a convoy, those are likely to get hit by IEDs, they're likely to get ambushed. So you might see a transportation soldier, a truck driver, some kind of 88 series MOS guy pick up his M4 and actually engage in direct fire with the enemy. So that's a likely scenario in which you might see a transportation soldier actually engaging in direct conflict. But other than that, it's not going to be super likely. Essentially, transportation, you are transporting vehicles, goods, I mean, all kinds of stuff, like I said, fuel for the combat arms branches. You are supporting them, okay? You're kind of like a service supporting those branches. And then you have your special branches. So you got your chaplains, okay? So chaplains are never going to engage in direct conflict. They're not supposed to actually pick up a weapon to engage in conflict. So they're not gonna see conflict. If you wanna have a job that's definitely not gonna be in conflict, at least where you're not going to be directly engaging, you could be a chaplain, but chaplains are everywhere. And so if chaplains are everywhere, then they may be in some bad situations. It's just they can't fight back. But in those special branches, you know, you have your veterinarians, you have your dentists, you have some of the different medical fields, not like a 68 whiskey to combat medic. You have like your nurses and things like that that aren't actually going to go out to the battlefield. But like I said, all things are kind of dependent on the scenario in the military. We call that METT-TC, which is just a mission dependent on all the different variables that could happen. But I mean, if you have a post overseas in Iraq, Afghanistan, something like that right now, you know, there's gonna be some nurses there, there's probably gonna be some veterinarians or something there. There's gonna be people there that are in this special branch, and they're not going out to see combat, but they have a special job, and under all normal circumstances, they're not going to see combat unless we were to go to war and then somebody were to just straight up attack, you know, that base that they were on. And even if that were to happen, odds are they may not engage in direct conflict with the enemy. They're going to be the ones that are kind of trying to get things and move. More than likely, unless things were just super duper absolutely horrible, you're not going to see a lot of these people picking up weapons and fighting. So if you have an MOS that's under one of those special branches I'm talking about, not like the 68 whiskeys, you know, the medical is going to be kind of MOS dependent a little bit if you're actually like a combat medic. So whenever you're sitting there thinking of different MOSs, and maybe you're trying to find an MOS that doesn't see combat, just make sure you keep in mind the different branches that we have inside of the Army and kind of where that branch falls. Is that a combat arms branch? Is it a combat support branch? Is it a service and support branch? Or is it a special branch in the Army? And so there you can kind of gauge how likely is it that I'm gonna see combat with this MOS. And again, all of this, even infantry soldiers, it's all just dependent on the situation. You can be in infantry and serve your entire contract and never even get close to combat, right? But you can also be a transportation soldier. You could be a cook who's a cook for an infantry company, infantry battalion, whatever, and then your base gets attacked, and then that cook has to pick up his weapon and actually fight. I've heard stories of that. So there's all kinds of situations. You know, when you're joining the Army, you're joining the military, and you know, there's a lot of crap that could happen whenever you're going to war. So, you know, everything's up in the air whenever you go to war, but under normal circumstances, that's kind of what you can expect. If you join a combat arms branch and you get deployed to an area where you're likely going to see conflict, then okay, you can expect that you're going to see direct or indirect conflict with the enemy. How likely is it? Really just depends on the situation of that, you know, geographical area that you're going to, and you'll be briefed on all of that whenever you actually, you know, that situation comes up for you. But that's basically it for me trying to break it down in a very broad sense, because one of the issues that I have with all this stuff is trying to explain military stuff to a bunch of civilians, people looking to join the military, trying to get it into a way that you guys can understand. So that is gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, that'd be awesome. If you stick on some more of my videos, hit the subscribe button, that would be even better. Follow me on Instagram and Snapchat if you haven't already. I hope you guys have an amazing freaking day, and I'll see y'all later.